We call this meeting of the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is April 21st, 2014. Why don't we start with the invocation by Andy Baker, Director of Outreach and Assimilation, Central Reformed Church.
Let us pray together. Our Father in heaven, we invoke your presence on this assembly. We thank you for all that you continue to do in our community. We think of the Easter services held throughout our community. We think of the continued needs of our community and ask you to keep working in our organizations, in our people, to continue to reap blessings and to meet the various needs that are here. God, we know there are a variety of issues before this assembly today, and we ask that you give wisdom to our council members, to our city staff, and to all that are here. May you guide these proceedings. May wisdom and peace and patience prevail, and may good things come out of what happens here tonight. So God, be with all who are involved and be present in this place. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Andy. Charlie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Amy, roll call, please.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda, this is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included on the current agenda. However, I would note that there is a hearing tonight regarding the removal of a water board member, and so if you would like to speak to that, I would ask that you would hold that and then speak it later on in the agenda. The community, however, is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and the city council. We're asked to keep statements brief. Any questions that are to be asked of the city staff or council members of the mayor, we ask that that be done prior to speaking to the full council. So that way concerns can be properly researched and answered, possibly away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Okay, name and address, please.
Natalie Spray, 2692 305th Street.
Okay.
So I wanted to start off the meeting with a very positive note. Blue Zones Project had their kickoff event last Monday night, and we had an overwhelming success. We had roughly 750 people in attendance. We had 78 people join a walking group, also known as a walking moai. And we had several council members and the mayor and Michael Schrock available for our walk-in food policy workshop. So I wanted to thank you for coming out and getting a little bit of Blue Zone in your spirit. Excuse me. We had one of the largest kickoff events so far in the state within the Blue Zones Project. So it is a state initiative, and I think that's something very proud to recognize for Oskaloosa. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would care to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item number 5 is the consent agenda. These are all items that are routine in nature. No discussion is anticipated when we set up the agenda tonight. So do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Okay. That passes. Getting into the regular agenda, 6 item A. Is to consider a request from the Mahaska Community Recreation Foundation to report on their quarterly activities of MCRF. Candace DeBryan, is that right?
Yep. I am the activities manager for Mahaska Community Recreation Foundation. First of all, do you all have your progress report or our quarterly report? Yes? If not, I have copies. Okay. You might notice that we changed it up a little bit. It's just one page. We're going to start doing that for our quarter reports. Annuals will stay the same, but we just wanted to keep this a little bit more brief. So we separated it out into 5 or 6 sections. We have participation, recreation, Community support, development projects, and upcoming events. So far, we've hosted 2 collegiate softball tournaments at the Fiveplex, bringing in 7 softball teams from around the area. Also we had registration for our youth sports, so between Babe Ruth, Little League, youth soccer, we have over 835 youth participating, which is a pretty good number for our community. Also, under recreation, we've had a couple inter-squad scrimmages for William Penn and the Oskaloosa High School soccer. Let's see, we also had track kicked off at the stadium with a meet against Grandview. As for community support, we saw Trees Forever. They came out, volunteered their time, and helped us prune and trim down some brush on 50 trees, which was really fantastic. It's always nice to see our community come out and help and support the Lacey Complex. We also had soccer club come and spend 60 hours and line and work on the fields to prep for the season. And then at our registration, MCRF set up a booth for Play It Forward. I'm not sure if you're aware of what Play It Forward is, but it's an equipment exchange program. So we collected equipment, and then at the registration, we allowed people to pick it up. We had over 50 items picked up, and it was a really great success, so we're hoping that we can continue on with that. Let's see, and then also we had our 4th annual bowling fundraiser this winter. We were able to raise over $5,400. We had great community support with lots of people donating, lane sponsorships, a great turnout, and that money was combined with some funds from Babe Ruth, and we were able to build a portable press box concession stand, which will allow for some more tournaments to come in for the Babe Ruth, which will be great. They'll be starting those up here in May. As for development, we also were able to lay out and finalize the trail addition through Caldwell Park. If there's any questions about that, just feel free to call Sherry at the MCRF office. As for upcoming events, next 3 weekends were USSSA tournaments, so we will be busy, as well as starting up some challenger games for the Imagine the Possibilities. And track will kick off their Midwest Collegiate Conference, that's William Penn, and that'll be the 1st through the 3rd of May. And also the last thing is our trail trim tours. We are now taking reservations, and those are going to be up and running from May to October. Any questions?
Thanks, Candace.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on in the agenda, item B. This is a presentation from Dave Sedevec, Executive Director at the Mahaska County Conservation Board, regarding the recreation opportunities and economic impact of the county park system. Ordinarily, the city manager gets involved in writing the text that introduces these topics. This is one that was written by me in a hurry and loaded right into the agenda. So recently I attended a meeting with Dave Sedevec, the Executive Director of the Mahaska County Conservation Board, and several other Conservation Board members, where we discussed the economic impact that the county board or park system has on the area, and how the county parks and other recreational opportunities like the modern cabins, the trails, the rivers, and creeks could be used to attract tourism. I was especially excited about the acquisition of the Mammoth phones and targeting parents that are looking for an educational day trip with their kids. There was a suggestion of a slogan, something along the line of, Mammoth things are happening in Mahaska County. If you don't like it, I own it. Anyway, Dave Sedevec, if you're here to report on the county conservation facilities.
Thank you, Mayor. As Dave said, I'm Dave Sedevec, the Director of the Mahaska County Conservation Board. I've been here in front of you once before asking for a letter of support for our project, Caldwell Park, which City Manager Schrock wrote a great letter, so I appreciate that. What we're here to talk about now is the economic impact that conservation boards have on the local communities, and I'm going to skim through some of this stuff kind of quick because it's normally about a half hour, 45-minute presentation. You have a full house, so I'm going to just hopefully just hit the high spots. But anyhow, this is called Iowa's Front Porch, the economic engine of county conservation. And Thomas McBride, who was one of the presidents of the University of Iowa, if you've ever heard of Lake McBride State Park, or McBride Hall, which is with the Museum of Natural History in Iowa City, named after him, he wrote in the 1890s, he wrote a paper on county parks, and you guys can read it up there. It says, county parks are necessary as directly affecting public health and happiness, for proper education, and to preserve to other times men something of a primeval nature. County conservation boards came into effect in Iowa. The law was passed in 1955, allowing for county conservation boards. Originally, we were under the auspices of the DNR. Well, back then it was Conservation Commission. 1989, that office was closed, and we're on our own. Some of the numbers I'll be throwing out at you tonight, they'll be kind of quick, but they came from 3 studies. We had a strategic planning survey, an asset inventory, which I don't know if you have gone through that for the city, but that's a real joy, counting every single thing that you possess. And then the last thing is Iowa State University did a study on the economic value of outdoor recreation. And so these numbers I'm giving you, they're not just made up. This is where they came from. And we have copies of all that if anybody wants to see them. There's 99 county conservation boards in Iowa. There's a total of 1,832 areas around the state. Those are some of our groups that we partner with. DNR, Corps of Engineers, Law Enforcement Academy, National Park Service, Natural Heritage Foundation. And then the people of the conservation boards, there's 495 board members. There's 5 board members that are appointed by the Board of Supervisors in each county. There's 99 conservation directors. They're hired by the board. And then there's roughly right now, it depends on the given week, about 475 employees statewide. They're full-time employees. And then there's about 3,500 part-time employees throughout the year. There's almost 194,000 acres under the control of county conservation boards, over 1,800 parks in the state, 175 cabins, 70 environmental education centers, with 3 in the process of being planned or constructed. We're one of those. Plus, we actually count there twice because they count Russell Wildlife as an education center, and we're trying to build a new one. Over 1,500 miles of trails, and over 10,500 campsites in our system around the state. One of the big numbers here, almost 26,000 programs are put on every year by county conservation boards. These are publications that we deal with that if you guys want to see this PowerPoint later and go through it slowly, I'll be glad to give anybody that wants to see it a copy. We have an annual conference this year. It's going to be in Sioux City, and that's for the board members and the directors and the employees. It's probably like what you guys experience. There's great sessions, great workshops, but a lot of times you learn more networking in between the sessions, seeing what works and doesn't work with others, for you guys, municipalities, but for like us, for other counties. There's a spring workshop for the board members held in Ames every year. These are our associations. There's the Iowa Association of County Conservation Board. That's our umbrella group. The person that did the presentation that the mayor saw was the head of this organization. All these other groups are affiliate groups. Iowa Association of County Conservation Board employees, County Conservation Directors Association, Iowa Association Naturalist, County Conservation Peace Officers Association, and a firm. And we have people in this county in every one of those organizations, although for a firm, the roadside manager, Ben Hoskinson, isn't technically under the County Conservation Board, but the county does have a roadside manager. This is a My County Parks website. Anything you want to know about county conservation system, if you go to mycountyparks.com, you can find it. We've really led the way in website development for organizations. This cloud technology is something that's really helped me, where if I have a question, I can type it, and by the end of the day, I'll have 15, 20 answers from other directors or other counties around the state. It's an intranet system that we have. We work very closely with the tourism agencies in the state, trying to promote economic development and tourism, and we'll get into that locally here a little bit more. We advertise in different publications, but there's the big number, $851.5 million of economic impact per year is what the County Conservation Board system has in Iowa. Here they compare state parks and the county conservation system, and as you read down through there, the one thing that I find interesting is the visitor expenditures. There's $745 million for the state parks, $852 million for the county parks, but when Iowa State did the study, they decided that people at county parks only spend 65% of what they spend in a state park. I'm not sure why that number is, but that's always been a number I've questioned in this proposal. But over 10,000 campsites. We've been through that, but I want to get closer to what we're doing here. There's more trails in the county conservation system in Iowa than all other trails combined. And so trails have a huge economic impact, as you well know here in this community with the rec trail going through town. It's estimated there's $400 an acre worth of economic impact for public hunting ground in the state. So it's a lot of money, around the state here, but we'll get to us locally. Cabin information, we'll get to ours. There's cabins, 71 deluxe cabins, which is what we have, 94 modern cabins, and 10 non-modern cabins in the state. Okay, out of the conservation boards, over 25,000 programs a year, over 750,000 participants in education programs. Here's, now we're starting Mahaska County. Last year, or the last 4 years, we've averaged 483 programs annually. We've averaged over 13,000, almost 14,000 program participants, which for a county the size of Mahaska County, I'm extremely happy with. And that's with one full-time naturalist and occasionally being able to get part-time help. We're on the internet. We have the county's website, plus we have our own Facebook page, which is, some of you will know, a lot of times Facebook pages get a lot more traffic than the official pages do. But here's our economic impact. $98,500 worth of camping environmental impact last year. Trails, $118,000 worth. Hunting areas, $434,000 worth. We have 1,085 acres right now. We're in the process of writing a grant trying to get another 93 acres this year. Fishing and kayaking, programming, all that. This all came out of the Iowa State study, so almost $5.5 million a year of economic impact is what the Mahaska County Conservation Board provides. And we are, you could say we're the quality of life people in this community, and that's part of why we work hand in hand with the Mahaska County Rec Foundation, with the Mahaska Wellness Coalition, all the other groups, because we're a quality of life agency, and we work with them because we all think that working together we can get more done than trying to compete against each other. Those are 24 million visitors statewide to County Conservation Board areas. Here are the rivers. We're blessed here. We have 3 rivers going through our county. A lot of counties don't have that, and there's a lot of economic impact. There's a lot of recreational opportunity because of those rivers. The lakes, there's 3 major lakes in the county: Hawthorne Lake, Keoma, and White Oak. Only one of those is under our control right now, but they generate a lot of money: the fishing, the boating, the beaches. How many of you have even knew we had cabins at Eveland Access? Okay, well, I'll be honest, the cabins there are nicer than the house I live in. And if you ever have a chance to go down and look at them, if you just want to look at them, have a tour or anything, give us a call at the office, because it's kind of a hidden gem that we haven't done a very good job of publicizing and advertising, and that's something that we're working on trying to improve on. They're both over 900 square feet, 2-bedroom, bath, full kitchen, internet access, and television. They both have grills outside and fire rings. So last year we had over $10,000 of revenue, not just impact, but revenue generated from camping, and then over $10,000 generated from the cabins. So $20,000 of revenue generated at Eveland Access. That asset inventory I was telling you about, where we had to measure every foot of pipe, every foot of trail, parking lot post, all that. We have over $7 million of asset inventory in this county. And when I found that out, it's kind of a staggering number, because then you think that's what we have to take care of and replace and put you in a different mindset to plan. Do you guys know what REAP stands for, that Resource Enhancement and Protection Act? It's a bill that was passed by the legislature 25 years ago, and monies come to the local communities. And the county conservation, there's shared 2 ways: per capita and per population, or per county and per capita. since REAP was initiated, we've gotten almost $389,000 for the Conservation Board. But if you look at the numbers on the right, total, Mahaska County has gotten almost $1.5 million from REAP, from everything from historical to Lake Keoma to us to environmental education. So that's $1.5 million that's come into the county in the last 25 years. This is something that, when I first saw this slide, I thought it was pretty staggering, is its population gain and loss. And right now, in the last 20 years, we've actually gained population here in Mahaska County. But if you look up there in that fertile farm ground where the Des Moines lobe of the Wisconsin Glacier was, some of those counties, it's staggering, losing over 20% of their population because the big factory farms are taking over. You don't have a farmstead on every section. And it's really, this slide's in here because those county conservation boards are really struggling because they don't have the population anymore. Here, like I said, we're fortunate the population's been increasing. Here's something that was thrown in. I just thought it was humorous because this is over 50 years ago. They were talking about juggling budgets and long-term planning, and there was a cartoon about it. And I really don't know if anything's changed in the last 50 years. That was kind of, like I said, a quick run through. The one thing I want to talk about with the economic impact also now is, I'm sure you've read in the paper that Mahaska County Conservation Board has acquired the rights to the mammoth bones. And they'll go in our new environmental education center, the Environmental Learning Center at Caldwell Park. And I think that's going to be a huge economic impact on the whole county, but on Oskaloosa. It's going to be right on the edge of town. And I think it's going to be a regional draw for a lot of people. And that wasn't in this original presentation, but I wanted to see if you guys had any questions on that, as long as I was here. And plus, there's going to be a meeting next Monday night at the Extension office that the architect's going to be there, the construction manager's going to be there, Conservation Board employees and members, and the Friends of Mahaska County Conservation. So if anybody has any questions on that project, that'd be a good time to ask too. But if you have any questions on anything we do, I thought I'd try to answer them for you.
What's the time, Dave, on that meeting?
It's 7 to 8:30 at the Extension office next Monday. And I have a few flyers here if you want them. I can leave them here, and anybody can take them that wants them.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Good job, Dave.
Yeah, as Oskaloosa goes forward, talking about tourism and talking about our branding, I think that the natural resources we have around us is going to be a very important part of the way that the city develops going forward. Moving on, item number C, that's the public hearing. Let's consider holding a public hearing on the resolution confirming or denying a public order for the removal of Water Board of Trustee member Aaron Keltner. It's reserved for the purpose of holding the public hearing on the matter of confirming or denying the mayor's written order for removal of Water Board Trustee Aaron Keltner. The date of the hearing, of course, is today, April 21st at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. I guess I would start before I open the hearing by mentioning that the action that I took was not related in any way to say that I thought Aaron was doing anything illegal or immoral. There was nothing of that going on that concerned me. And so I do want to remind folks that this public hearing is a little different than some others, that it's not a trial or anything like that. But it is an opportunity for people to speak to for Mr. Keltner. There's no particular cross-examination of the city council or the mayor that takes place. And I would ask that we, given the number of people we have here, to limit the time that you spend speaking. Keep it brief. We want everyone to have the chance to speak and still get home tonight at a reasonable hour. We have our legal counsel here, Mr. Brick. I don't know if you have anything that you would like to say before we open this up.
Good evening, and I've been through this before, and based on past ones, I'm probably going to tell you something I don't need to tell you, but I would ask that you
Mr. Brick, could you take the podium?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. I have kind of a loud voice. Usually I don't need a microphone. We would ask that, so that all of you have an opportunity to speak, you be specific and get to the point as quickly as possible. Try not to repeat things that other people have said. keep in mind that the purpose of a public hearing is for you to share what you believe with the council. It is not a legal debate. It is not, they will not cross-examine you. You cannot cross-examine them. It's not for the purpose of asking questions to them or anyone else. The sole purpose of this hearing is for you to share your opinions and feelings with the board. And I have talked to the attorney that's representing the water district and the officer, and I believe he is going to go first. And although it's not a trial, he has asked that he thinks it would be more convenient for him if he could ask specific questions to Aaron and have Aaron answer those questions, and I said that was just fine. So I'll, with that, turn it over to Richard.
Okay. So the hearing's now open.
Thank you, Mr. Brick. Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the City Council. I'm Rick Baum. I'm an attorney at the Dickinson Law Firm in Des Moines, Iowa. And with me today is Colleen McRae, my associate. And with me today also is Aaron Keltner, who you all well know. I represent Mr. Keltner, and I also represent the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department. And as you know, Mr. Keltner is currently serving and acting trustee of that water department. The purpose of my presentation today is to protest and object to the purported removal of Mr. Keltner as a trustee by the mayor pursuant to written notice. We have submitted today, and each of the members of the council and the mayor and others have a copy of a written brief stating the essential facts of this matter and containing some 6 exhibits which we think are pertinent to the council's consideration, and also containing a legal argument in support of our position that the mayor lacks the power to remove a trustee of the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department. Also, that the purported basis under statute upon which the removal has been constituted is inapplicable to this proceeding. And finally, we urge and argue that even if it is assumed that some power of removal exists that could be exercised in this matter, that as a matter of prudence and wisdom, that power should not be exercised to remove Mr. Keltner under the circumstances. I'm mindful of the admonition to be brief. It's not necessarily in my nature, but I'll endeavor to do my best. And I will, in doing that, commend to you the full briefing package in the written materials in front of you. And I would ask that those be studied and given due consideration before the council takes any action on this matter. I want to make 3 essential points in this matter at this point. The first point is that the Oskaloosa Water Department is an independent entity. It was created by law and by city election in 1922. It is constituted by law under Chapter 388 Code of Iowa. And under that law, it is independently, and I stress the word independently, managed by a board of 3 trustees. The power of management of the utility is exclusively vested in that board of trustees by law. And that law is implemented by legal provisions in Chapter 388, which provide for the appointment of trustees to 6-year staggered terms. Those 6-year staggered terms are significant because they demonstrate the purpose of the law to insulate the water utility, which is the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department, from political domination and political interference. Accordingly, removal by the mayor is inconsistent with and repugnant to the indispensable independence that is provided by law for the municipal utility. The removal here is said to be based upon, and I'm going to quote from the mayor's removal order, my decision to order your removal from service is based upon the lack of communication cooperation we had in trying to make our operations more efficient and effective. This, coupled with the budget and multi-year water rate increases, leads me to believe a change in the water board is necessary. Nothing could more clearly demonstrate a purpose to interfere with and indeed usurp the control of the Water Board than that statement of purpose in removal. Clearly, the effort in removal that is put forward here is an effort to directly manage the Water Department, an effort that is not allowed by law. The second point I'd like to make is that the section of the Iowa Code that is cited in the mayor's removal order, section 372.15, does not provide for the removal that is contemplated under that order and is now being considered by the City Council. Let me quote from that. It states in pertinent part, "Except as otherwise provided by state or city law, all persons appointed to city office may be removed by the officer or body making the appointment, but every such removal shall be by written order." You'll recall what this says. This applies unless inconsistent with law. As I've noted previously, the removal here is totally inconsistent with the independence mandated by law under Chapter 388. Further, the removal applies only to city office. In this case, the trustee is not a holder of a city office. The trustee is a holder of an office of the municipal utility, which is a legally constituted separate legal entity which has the power to sue and be sued, to manage the water utility, and most importantly, it has the sole and exclusive power to manage the city utility. Neither the City Council nor the mayor reserves any power to manage the utility. It is worth noting that under Chapter 388, city employees and public officers may not serve as trustees of the Water Board. Under all of these circumstances, I respectfully submit to you that the mayor and you as the City Council lack the power to exercise removal as is attempted here. Third point, I urge you to carefully consider your action here and to carefully consider whether the removal of a trustee where, as the mayor so forthrightly states, there is no claim of misconduct or impropriety involved. I urge you to consider whether it is prudent to remove a trustee under those circumstances. And I commend to your consideration in that respect the shared services study that the city itself commissioned and paid $20,000 to obtain, which points out, among other things, that it is considered a best practice, and these words are used repeatedly in the study report, it is a best practice to have an independent water utility. The action here is the total antithesis of independence. It is indeed the effort to control and dominate. This is unwise and inconsistent with the proud and strong history in Oskaloosa since 1922 of an exceedingly well-managed, exceedingly efficient, exceedingly effective water department. No good can come of removal of trustees simply to obtain some short-term political benefit or gain or access to management of control that's forbidden by law to the political processes. Before I ask Mr. Kellner to join me so I can ask him a few questions, I'd like to draw the mayor's attention and the city council's attention to 6 exhibits that are in the notebooks in front of you. The first is Exhibit 1, which contains a copy of the mayor's removal order. The second is Exhibit 2, which is a joinder by the Water Board in Mr. Keltner's protest and objection. 3 is a copy of the Shared Services Study final report, which I know is familiar to this council in all of its details. 4th are minutes of a special meeting where the Shared Services report was last studied and which the circumstances suggest was the proximate cause of the subsequent removal proceedings. The 5th is Mr. Keltner's protest and objection. And 6th is a resolution number 1402 of the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department joining in Mr. Keltner's protest and directing me as counsel to present that joinder to the council, which we've done today in Exhibit 2. Before I ask Mr. Keltner to join me, I understand this isn't open for debate, but if the council or the mayor have any questions for me, I'd be happy to try and address them. If not, Mr. Keltner, would you join me for a second?
Sure.
Just a little awkward. I know you're well known to everyone in the room here, but would you state your full name and address?
Aaron Keltner, 1710 South Park, Oskaloosa, Iowa.
Do you have employment?
Yes.
By whom are you employed?
Veenstra and Kim Engineering.
What do you do for Veenstra and Kim?
Provide construction services in project management.
Does that employment provide you with some insight that you find helpful in discharging your duties as a member of the Board of Trustees?
Yes.
Are you currently serving as a trustee of the Oskaloosa Municipal Water Department?
Yes, sir.
When were you sworn in?
July 2012.
To a 6-year term?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an unexpired term at this point?
No. I do not.
An unexpired term?
Unexpired. Yeah, no. Yes. Yes.
So you're scheduled to serve for another 3.5 to 4 years?
Yep.
And do you desire to continue to serve?
Yes, sir.
Have you regularly attended the meetings of the trustees?
Yes, sir.
And have you endeavored to the best of your ability to serve as a trustee?
Yes, sir.
Have you informed yourself as to its affairs?
Yes, sir.
Have you put all the effort in that was required for you to be an effective manager?
Yes, sir.
Do you desire to continue to manage
Yes,
the
sir.
trustee of the water utility?
Yes.
Have you been notified of removal by Mayor Creutzfeldt?
Yes, sir.
What do you understand to be the reason for your purported removal?
I had received a letter that stated due to lack of communication and multi-year budget rate increases, and then a phone call that stated related to a PFM study.
Do you feel you've effectively communicated with city officials, including the city council?
Yes.
Did you, as a board member, attend at least 3 meetings, joint meetings, with the board
Yes.
of trustees and the city council and the mayor?
Yes.
And did those include fair and frank discussions of matters of mutual interest?
Yes.
Including an interest in pursuing the ideas of the shared study?
Yes.
Do you believe the effort to remove you as trustee is an effort to directly manage the affairs of the water utility?
Yes.
Do you think that's improper?
Yes, very.
Do you protest it?
Yes, very.
That's all.
Does anyone else care to speak at this time? Okay.
I don't have the legal degrees as just been presented to you, but
Name and address, please.
Jimmy Carter, 316 Glendale Road. Sat on the city council for 25 years or thereabouts. Had the opportunity in the years of being on the city council to see a lot of different appointments made. To my recollection, and I believe it, the record stands, this is the first time a mayor has ever asked for the removal of a person that has been appointed by the mayor, and for the reasons that he has stated during his presentation. My point of standing up here today is that as a family business, we developed a lot of the properties on the east side of town. Shopping malls, shopping mall, restaurants, etc. During those years of development, we had the opportunity to work with the water department on a day-to-day basis as we developed the properties out there. And after over probably 30 years of development properties, not once did we ever have one problem with the water department. Not one time have we ever had a comeback saying that they didn't work with us as a developer. So I say that you're looking at the wrong direction. I've heard and read, I've not been to any of your meetings, about is going to save the city taxpayers, which I'm one and have been for my whole life. $400,000. That $400,000 to me is a spot on a speck to your overall budget, especially disrupting the water department board that we presently have. It has run effectively for a long period of time. It has done this job that you've asked it to do. And now for some reason, whatever that reason might be, You're deciding or thinking about deciding to remove one of its members and then possibly a removal of others through non-reappointment. For what effect, I have no idea. I think you need to remember we the people, this is government by the people and for the people, voted this office in, not me, but back in 1922. So let's keep it solid. It's worked very well, very efficiently, very effectively for many, many years. And I really urge you to think about that. The last point I wanted to bring up, and I think this is a very valid point, whatever side you're on this issue. As I read the city council meetings every time they come up every month, I research them and read them. There's a lot of seats that are open, vacant, and you're wanting to encourage people to run for office. I'll use myself as an example, wanting to be appointed by the mayor and then approved by the city council. Why would I want to put my name in? For if I disagreed with the mayor, I'd probably get disbarred or ask for my resignation. So I think it's very, very fruitful for you to think about for future people that want to run for office, if that's the right word to say, or for an appointed position, planning and zoning, library board, or whatever. So if you disagree with the mayor, you might be asked to resign. Not a good performance. I hope that you'll think long and hard about your decision. We've got a very, very good water board, and I support them fully.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak at this time? I'll entertain a motion from the council to close the hearing.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion on closing the hearing? Roll call, please.
Yates?
Yes.
Calgery?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Moore?
Is this to close the hearing? Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteeg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Okay, the hearing is closed. Next is the consideration of the resolution.
Make a motion to confirm on the written, on the resolution to remove Mr. Keltner.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Calgery?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Moore?
No.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteeg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Okay. That resolution passes. Moving on. Item number D is discussion and possible action on the city's support of the Blue Zones project. This item, at the request of City Council members Van Zetten and Versteeg, is reserved for discussion and possible action relative to the city's current commitment to the Blue Zones project. On April 10 of 2014, the city manager's office received notice that the previously mentioned city council members were interested in discussing the city's current commitment to the Blue Zones project with the mayor and council, as well as the city manager. And so the council member Van Zetten requested to have a number of items included, and we've got the minutes, motions, agendas included in our packet. And so I guess at this time, I'll open it up to council member Van Zetten.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. What you've got in the history there is stuff that I went back through in the public record, and I actually pulled that through Radex. And I think, for me, when I started going on this, I wanted to find out what everybody else here was thinking. And when we actually voted on this, I didn't realize that we were actually voting on this. And as it was presented to us inside of the motions, it was just, let's just fill out the application and let's see where we're at with it. We didn't see the details of this plan until basically April 8th of 2014. We got it on a Tuesday after they had presented. So the problems that I'm seeing now is I'm just wondering where everybody sat with this, that when we go through and we look at the motion clearly states in several of those, in two instances, that it was just to fill out the application. But then when we move to the next step of the resolution, inside the resolution it talks about filling out the whole Blue Zone project to completion. That was never discussed inside the motions. So, when we sit here and we motion for something, we first and second, that's the point that we have our meeting of the minds and we continue to move forward on.
when you look into, and that's why I kind of provided all that information for you, you can see the wording change from the motion to the resolution. And so there's a couple instances in there that we can talk about that. But more particularly that I have a problem, that now that I've seen the details, where we talk about new businesses coming in here and we're going to shut down, or we're going to talk about not letting drive-throughs come through. We talk about limiting population densities. We talk about regulating out. This is an area of government that I don't want to be in. I didn't run for city council to tell people what to do. And now I see that they're asking us to make serious policy changes. And I went and I did a whole bunch of research on this gentleman. And basically he says, you're not responsible for this. You can't do it alone. So because you can't do it, we have to get policy involved. So in other words, they're asking us to regulate the community. That's where I have a problem with it. And so now that I've seen the details, when I saw the pledge come out on Tuesday, I have a real problem where we're at here right now. So I just wanted to kind of talk with everybody here and what you thought blue zones were, what you were going with at the time. I mean, I know you all pretty well, and none of us had the details. None of us had the pledge in our hand until that following Tuesday. So as far as what we actually voted for, and again, you can go back and you can look at the resolution and you can look at what was actually proposed, they became two different things. So I guess I kind of wanted to have an open conversation of where everybody stands now that you've seen what we actually have to do. I mean, this is going to the planning committee. And, you know, we're talking about showers in some public facilities. Brought it up earlier. I don't want to be there. You know, this isn't a role for government to play. It's almost like the second level of Obamacare. Do we have the right now to tell people, hey, you know what, we're paying for health care, we're going to start regulating you. No drive-throughs. I see Doug, you got McDonald's. I don't know if you went through the drive-through or not. But
recycled the cup.
Which the blue zone is all about.
And I know the blue zone people are here. From an individual and a business side, I have no problem with it. Go talk with the businesses. But from a policy side, that's where I really have a problem, where we're going to start regulating. I don't want to tell people no. I don't want to take choices off the table for people. And I believe people ought to have those choices, and they shouldn't be decided by the blue zone group, shouldn't be decided by people like us. People ought to have that choices. And there were several things in there, you know, even inside of your pledge, let's take salt off the table. Now, that was a business example, but that's between the blue zone and businesses and individuals, not for us to be regulating policy. And that's where I have a particular issue with it.
The way I understand it, you know, maybe I misunderstood, we're not going to go around and tell restaurants to take salt off the table.
No.
That
was a specific, but we are.
If they choose to want to be one of the blue zone
Let me be more specific. Let's talk about our pledge.
Okay.
And the wording that I have in here for us bothers me greatly, because one of the criteria for designation, and this is the third one, and they don't have page numbers, but it's just before the last pledge of actions.
Are you on this blue zone where we vote? Where are you, Jason?
I would say it's probably the fourth page from the last here. It says criteria for designation. I just want to point out this one bullet point. Implement at least 2 changes in the building environment that permanently change the environment to nudge people into healthier behaviors. We're not here to nudge people into healthier behaviors. That's not the role of government. And we're not talking about this at the federal level or the state level. We're talking right here. I don't want to be, what about somebody that doesn't want to be healthy? What about somebody that just doesn't want to deal with this? Personally, I'm all for it. Listen, I love going to the gym. I get that. But I'm not about to force my lifestyle on somebody else.
Don't we already do that? If they drive drunk, we arrest them. You know, we nudge them into driving sober. Don't we do a bunch
I would
of
say
this
that's a wildly different.
Yeah, somewhat different on that.
But don't you think we do a lot of this stuff already? I looked through this, and of the things that they're suggesting, we need to be 13 or greater. I found almost 11 that we're already doing. And just be some simple modifications to do this. But I would think and ask, who wouldn't want to have a healthier community? And also think about this. Think of the publicity and the business this might bring into our community, because we are part of this blue zone umbrella. You can, Albert Lee, did anyone go to the kickoff? That was a huge kickoff. How many, 800 people were there? I haven't seen that many people in the gym except for when we have graduation that were interested in supporting this. And the guy who talked about Albert Lee, Minnesota. I would love for him to go out to other communities and talk about Oskaloosa, Iowa, and how we are a healthy community and we're just working to be a healthier community. So we don't have to do all this. We're not going to dictate how people live, but it nudges us to make some of these offerings so that the healthy choice is an easy choice. And back to your salt off the table. I used to salt everything before I even tasted it. Now, a restaurant that I frequent doesn't have salt on the table. I have to ask for the packets. And I always just ask for 2 now instead of just salting it all real heavily. It was an easier choice for me to make. It was a healthy choice for me. So what I'm saying is if we support this, I think of the money we bring into our community because of the salaries that are funded by the Blue Zone. I think of maybe some of the publicity we might get for being a healthier place to live. And no, I agree with you. I'm not for making people do what they don't want to do. But I can see when we look this over, there would be some of these things that we're already doing. It would be easy to just tweak a little bit so we could be in compliance.
Well, I think what Jason's saying is we don't want to just wholeheartedly take the whole thing and not tweak it.
Yeah, we're going to have to tweak it.
If it needs to be tweaked, we have to do it now. We can't be doing it.
Aren't these just recommendations?
I'm really not for this project at all because I just, to me, it restricts business.
It does.
Jimmy John's isn't going to come in here if we say, hey, guess what? You can't have a drive-through. I don't even know how that's constitutional. And how does that creates an unfair market advantage for McDonald's and everybody else.
That already have it? But that's one of those things that we don't have to do. Isn't this just a menu of choices? Am I correct on that? Mm-hmm. And we pick the items that we want to support. So we don't have to do all this. And then the way I understood it, because I had an email from Michael, and by the way, you were on the small group, it was you, me, and someone else, we're going to sit down and talk about these and come up with suggestions and what we would like, and then bring them back to council. So the council would be voting on those, and the drive-through would probably be one that we probably would not be restricting. If a business wants to come to town and have a drive-through, I'm going to be like, come on down, because we want the business.
Do you feel that you have a responsibility as a councilwoman to nudge people into healthier behaviors?
I feel as a council member, I have a responsibility to make Oskaloosa as good a place to live in as we can.
Do you feel a responsibility to nudge them into behavior?
Maybe I do. I don't know. We provide the trails for people to get out and walk on. We provide a park for people to get out and do frisbee golf. We provide the bandstand so people can have some aesthetic music. We have a library over here that we support so people can, like me, can take care of their reading habits. I'm just saying, if that's what you consider nudging people into a healthier lifestyle, we'll live longer, we'll be a healthier community, we'll feel better about ourselves. Maybe I'm all wrong on this. Let's hear from some of the rest of you guys on the council.
Well, I can't say enough about the education that was brought on Monday and Tuesday to the sessions. I know the Blue Zone folks were disappointed that we didn't have more council members there. A lot of the questions that you're bringing up were the ones that were answered at those meetings. That we're talking about, this isn't about getting into somebody's face and telling them that they got to quit eating bacon. But it does have something to do with saying, okay, can you as a community, city council now, can you protect the farmers markets so that it's easy for farmers to bring fresh produce in and it's easy for people to get fresh vegetables? Can you as a community take some of your vacant land and let it be used for a community garden? I think that's a European approach, and I think Councilman Caligiuri can probably speak to it more so. But it's the idea of taking the stress level down. It's not about more exercise. He flashed that up over and over. The entire crowd saw that, where people who start an exercise program, by the time 2 years is gone, most of them don't have any success at all. Same thing with diets. Same thing when it comes to being involved in a health club. This is making it easier for people to make good decisions about themselves. I don't know, Joe, you haven't?
I have to agree with,
Jason,
sorry.
I can turn it this way.
Yeah, sure. I'm support for the Blue Zone, what I am not in support of is writing, rules, laws, telling people, here's how you're going to do things. That I will not support. But there's things on this list, very simple things like bike racks. It's easy. Throw them out by the mall or whatever. That's, you don't need a policy for that. Like you mentioned about the garden area. I lived in Europe for 13 years with a little bit of a break and lived that lifestyle over there. And, it's a different lifestyle over there compared to what it is in the U.S. But over there, they have these things. They can ride their bikes a little different. Their infrastructure is a little different than ours, of course, but out riding bikes. They have garden areas in the cities. People in town want to, have a garden plot or something like that. They have fast foods over there too. Yes, they have McDonald's there and Burger King and whoever else is over there. But they're out more. It's just their lifestyle. So with the Blue Zone, and I saw that. I was at the meeting this past week, and what I took from that was it's like we're trying to change a culture. Here, more of a. I'll go with the European culture where it's more. People are out more. They're more socialized. They just do a lot of different activities, even bike riding, like I said, but they're out. During the winter months, they all hibernate in their homes, but they still visit one another. But it's a different culture than what is here. There's some good things in here, but there's one thing I can't support is writing a policy on how we're gonna live, I guess.
Well, I've been in this from the beginning, and I've said the same thing every time we talk about it. It was a pretty liberal program when I saw it out of William Penn. But the 9 points are great. It's all about self-preservation, and I have no problem with it. But Jason has given me pause, and I think we ought to be able to get this cleared up. We voted along with it to get it here. It was an event that we won, and now it's here. And the way I've seen this and what I've been told, how it plays out now for the rest of the life of this Blue Zone here is just the way it plays out. I think we get the benefit of what there is, and we don't have to do what we don't want to. I don't think we're going to be asked. I'm not going to spend any government money for showers. I've said that every time we talked about it. But there's a lot on the table here besides those darn public showers. And the way I understand this, there's 30-some points. And all we have to do, maybe yet still, is make it to 13.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, now if I have to spend money to get to 13, I'm going to be against it, but I'm not sure we have to. So, and I also agreed that with what Tom said, I don't want to be talking about this all the time in City Council. This is not, Blue Zone is not a government deal.
It's not.
Government builds fire trucks and fire stations, and, that's what we do. We don't need to talk about this a whole lot more. Support it? Yes. I've been to the meetings, I've supported it, I still support it. I don't think we have to talk it to death. Now, if I'm misunderstanding it, somebody needs to tell me that I misunderstand this process, but that's the process I've seen since day one, and it becomes a win-win situation. But there's one other pause, and what was the guy's name?
Dan Bittner.
He did touch on it the other night out at the gym, because when we brought that, it came up the idea that, okay, X restaurant says, I don't want a thing to do with Blue Zone. Well, if Y and Z restaurant take it on, and Blue Zone had a whole bunch of money, which I'm not sure that they're going to spend this money, but maybe they're going to, and they were going to advertise for Y and Z and leave X out, I would be against that. That's not free enterprise, and that doesn't help a community of 12,000 people. But I don't see yet that that's going to happen. But I expect somebody to tell me, Tom, that could happen, and then I may have a different attitude about it. That's my story.
I guess I made a comment to Miranda after the meeting last time about a one world view, and it certainly appears that that's the thing that it's kind of chasing. And would you like to speak to that, Miranda, or not?
Well, when we discussed the one.
Please take the microphone.
first of all, I'm not in favor of that one world view. I want you to know that right up front. Okay.
I got that from our last conversation. But I did think about it after we spoke, and I think that we're really getting, like what you said, Mr. Walling, we're really getting away from what the point is here. It's not to leave X out, restaurant X out, and advertise Y and Z. But if Y and Z is providing cooking demonstrations and helping the community become a better place, then yeah, they have their own right to share that and to be excited about that. And we want to celebrate.
Not us.
Right. And that's not, you're right, that's not your job. And as far as the one world goes, I think that, we have gotten so far away from our ancestors. I am all about patriotism and America and Oskaloosa and being proud of where we're from, but we have problems. There are things that we need to work on. And if there's a company that's coming in and providing these resources and materials, like these workshops that Mayor Creutzfeld attended last week and saw all of the amazing amount of knowledge that was brought to those places, then as a city council, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, you're going to hurt our businesses, so no? Or are you going to say, there's all this room for growth, so why not? And I think that, it is kind of beating a dead horse to continuously talk about what things Blue Zones is doing at every single city council meeting. We just need that support and those 13 points, and we want to provide all of those materials, and then we want to watch it thrive in our community so that the community members can say whether they want to make this choice or not. And whether the schools want to say, this is what we're going to do within our schools, or the restaurants can say, this is what we want to do within our restaurants. But wouldn't they want to know if there was a better option, an easier choice? Wouldn't they want to have that sort of research and material that is just handed to them? Because to me, that's an easy choice. It's an easy answer. And so it's frustrating because we just need the support. We need to thrive. We want to grow in this opportunity, and it's hard to do that when we are constantly hearing, but what are you doing to businesses? Because I don't think that Jimmy John's is going to be upset if they say, hey, there's like some negative ramifications of having a drive-through. Jimmy John's should be excited because we're saying, hey, those unwitches are really healthy for people. Did you know that? I mean, it can go two ways. There's, like Mrs. Moore said, with the salt on the table. She can ask for salt. Nobody's telling her she can't ask for salt anymore. It's just to make that, to frame that to the community in a different way, to make that choice easier, a healthy choice.
Well, Miranda, let me ask you this. Who's going to establish zoning to limit density and location of fast food establishments if we don't? Who are you going to ask to do that?
The mayor council, again, that's one of the options. It's not the only option.
You don't have to do it.
I know it, but are we already saying that we support that? That's my
That's not
question.
what you're saying. Again, one of the ideas behind presenting this information to you, and there have been a number of opportunities where either yourself as council members could attend or have had information presented to you about the different actions that are required. But these items we were hoping to bring to the planning commission or committee, and be able to show you that many of these things are either underway or could very easily be accomplished. And I say very easily. It would require a zoning change or an update to the code. Right now, zoning is established to protect human interests so that you don't have an industry right next to residential property. And so you are, as government, regulating that. If we really wanted to get rid of that, we could repeal all the zoning and have everybody build wherever they want. But that's what government does. And it's based on the standards of the community that is brought to you as elected officials from the public. There are things here that say, adopt policies to promote outdoor dining. Right now, it's restricted. Do you support that?
I barbecue outside my door. I mean,
So if they wanted to make changes to the code to allow that, because right now we restrict that.
What is outdoor dining?
Well, it'd be something like have patios, so you could serve food out on a patio. Right now,
Public?
It's not allowed.
Public.
So we're restricting as an organization, government is regulating the business from having that free enterprise opportunity.
But the one he just read here about the zoning of
Fast food establishments.
Right. I mean, that's part of zoning, because we set up the city to where we can place things, industrial and residential and so forth. But what they're really saying is to restrict for more fast food companies to come into town.
The bottom line is you're choosing to pick and choose on this
That's
list.
right.
That's the part that I really, they don't get to choose. We choose. Here's the 22 things, and I'm saying, we shouldn't even have to pick these 22 things. Let the public pick the 22. That's the whole problem with the system. And the system was being misleading at the very beginning. How many of you would have been on board if you got these 22 items right from the get-go?
I think we
Nobody got them.
did.
Nobody got them until April.
We went to.
I guess I'd like to comment. Jason, you called me, Thursday? Challenged me on how much of this I did or didn't know. And I will agree with you that if I had these 22 items or points or 30 or whatever they are, I don't remember getting them, but I probably did. But whether I reviewed them as in depth as I should have, I didn't. And so your challenge that you threw me Thursday caused me to do that. And I guess where I stand is I'm more committed to this now than I was before, and I want to thank everybody out there that's putting their time and effort into it, because I think we're kidding ourselves if we're trying to hide behind big government and all of that. We're just trying to have a better community. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, if you look at these points, I mean, it's just, let's try and be better. Let's make this a better place to live. We all want our kids to grow up here. It's not about, I mean, we set zoning all the time. We set speed limits. We put up stop signs. I mean, we regulate things all the time. That's what we were elected to do, make good decisions. If we don't make good decisions, we'll not get elected next time. This is good for our community, folks. Let's get behind it. Let's support these folks that are wanting to work so hard and do all the real effort. We got some pretty simple things to do here to show that we're behind it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this discussion to me is, this is good stuff. Do I agree with it? Heck, look at me. I got a lot of work to do here. I know it. I mean, I'm horrible. I don't even feel that I have the right to be talking about something like this, a health initiative, but it's good for our community. I mean, we see healthcare costs spiraling out of control. It's not about Obamacare. It's about how we're unhealthy as a society. We got to fix the real problem. This is an opportunity to do that. I mean,
So you're going to force people to get healthy?
I'm gonna force me to get healthy, hopefully. But I'm going to give them options that give them a chance to do that.
Well, I want to make a motion here because I want to be on record for this, that the city step away from blue zones and not participate in it.
Okay, and one last thing I want to say in your defense. I don't think you were on the council then, but when they had their first startup meeting out at the PAC or whatever, I know for sure Tom and I were in the the governmental session when they presented these things, and he and I did talk about the showers and the drive-through for fast food. So this was brought to us, and we kind of looked it over. That was before you came on the council, so you didn't have the opportunity that we did to see this earlier. So just for what it's worth.
Okay. We do have a motion on the table to withdraw support of Blue Zone. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I got one more question. Now, if I understood him right the other night, even if we don't make the 13, I don't think they're going to take this away from us, are they? No, we still get to work the process?
Whether we vote on this or not, why does that take that away from any of these guys? It's just taking us out of it. I've said the whole time, this should be between blue zone individuals and the community, not us. That's all I'm trying to take out of the picture here.
And I don't know.
Keep doing, I don't see why this affects blue zone whatsoever. Take the government out of the play. That's what we're trying to do. Take the hammer away from the nail on this one.
I don't know if this is the case or not. Michael or the Blue Zone people have to answer, but I know Pella vied to get this too. And one of the things that we were selected is all the entities that were involved supported it, and the city government was one of them, and we did support it, and therefore we got it and Pella didn't get it. And so I think that's part of the reason that the Blue Zone came to the city council and asked for our support. Now, am I wrong in that, Michael?
Pella did apply, I believe, the first round, but I can't recall. I think one of the things that I've heard from other communities who were applying or considering applying for this, they some of them decided to apply, but others said, no, you know what, we're not going to apply. We want to do this at our own pace. And they decided they wanted to dedicate their own resources to it. But I think one of the things that was enticing from my perspective as the manager, and why I recommended that we pursue this as well, is that if you apply for it and you receive, you're selected, there are resources that get provided to the community,
like our
essentially for
sidewalk.
free, right? And that is an attractive thing for an organization that doesn't want to spend a lot of taxpayer dollars on frivolous, could be viewed as frivolous, or other expenses within the community. I don't view this as a frivolous expense. I think we as staff are committed to it. We want to be one of the work sites that follows the concepts of blue zones. Obviously, if you as a body tell us not to, we'll change directions, but it's certainly my pledge at this point to see that through.
Amen. It's all about people living longer, quality of life stuff. Other comments? So the motion is to withdraw support of blue zones. Roll call, please.
Jimenez?
No.
Moore?
All right, if I say no, that means we're staying with blue zones, right?
Correct.
Okay, no.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Walling?
No.
Yates?
No.
Caligiuri?
No.
Okay. Motion fails. Moving on, item number 3.
Before you go on, Mayor, goes to planning now?
I'm sorry, what?
We'll be taking this to planning?
Yes, it's going to planning now.
All right.
So you're going to pick what happens for everybody.
You sure?
Oh, you're on it, Jason.
You two are choosing. I'm going to make very clear that you two are choosing.
Item number E. This is to consider a request from Pat Thostenson for reduction of sanitary sewer charges, property he rented at 2008 South 11th Street. Pat Thostenson is requesting a reduction of the sanitary sewer charges billed for the property he rented. As noted in the letter from the Water Department notified the owner of the property of excessive water usage, and the owner discovered that an outside spigot was turned on and had probably been turned on before Mr. Thostenson moved in. Sewer charges for the period in question amount to $407.72 for 108 units of water. Because Mr. Thostenson only received the bill with the excess water usage at his residence, the average usage at the previous residence of Mr. Thostenson was used to calculate an average usage to compare to the charges in question. Average usage at his previous residence was 10 units of water, which would amount to $52.05 for the period in question, resulting in a possible reduction of $355.67. In August of 2010, the City Council adopted a sanitary sewer leak adjustment policy that stated the city shall not provide sanitary sewer customers a reduction or waiver in service fees or charges. So that's a description of the item. Do we have a motion regarding the request for reduction of sanitary sewer charges?
So moved, because I want to discuss it.
Yeah.
Second.
Move to reduce?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, and there's the second. Okay, discussion.
For someone not as knowledgeable, what's a unit?
It's a, it's a measurement, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, but I mean, how many gallons, something I can relate to?
Oh, here's my issue for the poor guy. Riley went out
Dave was our expert in it.
before Patty moved in there.
I'm just trying to get a feel of if this was running for 3 months. If it's 100, what's that, 10,000 gallons we ran out on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody saw that?
Doesn't it say here that Mr. Riley went out and checked his property? It sounds like Pat was running it, and the spigot was on before Pat even moved into that house. Isn't that what the letter says here from Cheryl?
That's what it says.
Yeah,
But then
because the
Mr.
water-
Riley should have got a heck of a bill.
Yeah, he should be paying this bill, not Mr. Thosteson.
Well, it said he did, but it was he only had it for 11 days, but that period of time, it was 8 units higher.
Yeah.
So Mr. Riley must have paid that one.
Yeah, but there seems to be a little bit of conflicting information from the property owner versus the tenant.
Okay, let's hear it.
And that's what those two letters are provided. I have one letter from the tenant, and then the water department had reached out to Mr. Riley and seemed to have a different explanation of what was going on.
Yeah, so when he got to the property, he could hear water running and went and shut it off.
Correct.
And Thosteson wasn't in residence at the time, is that correct?
don't know that for sure.
Well, that's the way I read it, and he wasn't there.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Now, the water board, they took this up at their meeting and didn't take any action. So they deferred action on this one. Certainly,
I thought they set him up in payments.
that's also what I've heard as well.
Well, that's what the letter said.
Yeah, the
Yes.
letter says it here.
Yeah, yes. They deferred the action on the waiver or
So
reduction.
maybe the payments
but they
aren't
have
being
payments.
offered?
Ticket was turned on before Mr. Foster moved in.
Again, from an administrative side, the council's policy is no waivers, even in the event of,
But
well,
we
any
have
event,
made,
actually.
we've
So,
made several exceptions when people have come, I know. We haven't,
Before the policy.
why?
Before the policy.
Before the policy.
Okay, but we haven't since we,
I don't think so.
the last request was a reduction for a few $1,000s, and that was denied.
Yeah.
So it was on for 11 days prior to he moved in. Then it was on for a period of time that he was there. Is that
Of course, they bill me quarterly, so
right? So that was about a quarter's worth of. And he wasn't billed for the 11 days. That went to Mr. Riley because he hadn't moved in yet.
he's the property owner, that's how I understand it, yes.
I'm still looking for that 10,000 gallons that ran out on the ground.
Where did it go? Yeah. You couldn't see it.
so do you think they turned off the spigot and then Pat moved in and then?
Well, it sounds like
I
spigot wouldn't have had to.
Now, why did Pat get the bill?
Right?
Why did Pat get the
Yeah,
bill?
Shut it off.
I'd be curious to know why the bill went to
But not till
Pat
March
instead
3rd.
of- Oh, because it's just billed quarterly.
We'd be talking about a lot more water. Like under the mobile home at Lamson's, that was a lot of water. That ran for months. See what I'm saying? But
He
his
didn't shut
landlord
it off
shut,
till March 3rd. So did I read this letter, if I'm reading it correctly?
Yeah.
That's when he went and shut it off, when the water department contacted him. So it would have had.
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, man.
I take it Mr.
That was 2 months.
Foster's not here.
Oh, yeah, December 3rd, March 3rd. you're right.
Yeah, so it was 2/3 of the possibility. It could have been a third higher.
I guess the question that I have for the council, is there anything compelling within the information that's presented that would make you deviate from the adopted policy?
No.
I say send the bill to Tom Riley.
If you would like us to do more research, we certainly could do that. I just need to know what that would be.
Is he here?
Pat's not here.
He lives in Colorado.
Right.
Any further discussion?
Oh, he does live in Colorado? Oh,
The
yeah,
motion
right
is
there,
to
Fort Collins.
waive the fees.
That's correct.
Roll call, please.
Moore,
No,
Van Zetten,
No.
Versteg. No. Walling,
No.
Yates.
No.
Caligiuri.
No.
Jimenez.
No.
Okay, that fails. Item F. Let's consider appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There are 4 vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Commission. One is to complete an unexpired term that ends April 30th, 2017, and 3 vacancies to fill served 5-year terms and begin on May 1st, 2014, ending on April 30th, 2019. The terms of John Zobel, Holden Barnhart, and R.D. Keep expire on April 30th of 2014. This is a 7-member commission that typically meets the second Monday of the month as needed. John Zobel has indicated he's not interested in being reappointed, but R.D. Keep and Holden Barnhart have indicated that they are interested in being reappointed. Applications for appointment have also been received from Wendell Campbell and Wyatt Russell. Appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission are made by the City Council. It's a 7-member board, and currently 1 female and 5 males serve on the board with 1 vacancy. And so I'm recommending the reappointment of R.D. Keep and Holden Barnhart, and also the appointment of Wendell Campbell and Wyatt Russell to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Let's see, as far as the unexpired term, make sure I get that right. Yeah, the unexpired term ending on April 30th of 2017, I would give that to Wyatt Russell. Is there a motion for approval? Okay, discussion? Roll call, please.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Caligiuri.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore.
yep.
Okay, that passes. Moving on, item G. Let's consider a resolution to approve the final plat for the William Penn University addition and a request to waive the preliminary plat. William Penn is requesting approval of the final plat of the William Penn University addition, 10.35 acres into 3 lots. The purpose of this request is to identify these parcels individually for refinancing. The subject property is zoned R3, which is multiple family residential. This parcel of land is located along the east side of North Market Street between O Avenue East and Sheriff Avenue. Proposed lots have existing utility services and the ability to connect any future improvements. Therefore, staff is requesting to waive the preliminary plat. At the meeting on April 14th of 2014, the P&Z Commission recommended by a vote of 4-0 to approve the final plat for the William Penn University addition and to waive the preliminary plat. So do we have a motion supporting that?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore.
Yep.
Benzett.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item H, consider an ordinance amending a driveway culvert regulation in Oskaloosa Municipal Code Section 12.28.060. Staff was requested to conduct research, provide recommendations on driveway culvert requirements as an update to the city code. Currently, the Oskaloosa Municipal Code states that driveway culverts must be either corrugated pipe or reinforced concrete pipe with a minimum diameter of 12 inches. Thermoplastic pipes, such as high-density polyethylene and polyvinyl chloride, are not listed as allowable materials for driveway culverts. Staff research indicates that many cities only permit the RCP or CMP for the driveway culverts. That would be the concrete or the corrugated pipe. However, there are cities that have adopted the plastic pipes for driveway culverts. Some are enforced with departmental guidelines, some with code updates to provide specifications. The major revisions recommended by staff research are as follows. First, to create specifications to meet the American Association of State Highway and Traffic Officials and the American Society for Testing and Material Standards. Second, to create specifications for the types of pipe based on the amount of cover. And finally, to allow the plastic pipes for driveway culverts if they meet the standards. At the meeting on April 14, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended by a vote 5-0 to approve the code changes with the stipulation that these regulations be stated to apply to residential driveways. And then it goes into further detail that I won't read as to what codes are being changed in what ways. Do we have a motion supporting that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
How much cover are you going to require on those?
Well, if it's less than 6 inches, it's only, if you see the code that change, if it's less than 6 inches, only concrete or steel pipes are required. So if it's more than 6 inches, you can put plastic pipes, the thermoplastic pipes.
Yeah, but the cover on top of it, I guess is what I was referring to. Over top.
Over the pipe, right? So that's 6 inches or more.
6 inches or more?
Right.
Does this address part of that Brian Bowie discussion that we had?
After, yeah.
Makes it legal.
Does it make them legal?
Right.
Hold on.
Well, go there.
The mayor account, you approved a site plan that included specific items that were called out on that. And so I guess I don't know if I'd jump to yes automatically, that it makes it compliant.
Okay.
So we would want to look into that a little bit more.
His site plan would need to be updated.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore.
Yep.
Benzett.
Yes.
Versteg.
Okay, that passes. Item I, consider an ordinance to regulate the traffic on South 4th Street. This is between 13th Avenue East and 15th Avenue East by either restricting the on-street parking, converting it to a one-way street, or restricting the truck and bus traffic. City staff had received a resident request to restrict the parking along South 4th Street from 13th Avenue East to 15th Avenue East. Currently, there are no parking restrictions on either side of this section of South 4th Street. The street pavement is chip seal. The width of the street varies from 22 to 26 feet. And this section of street does experience a higher than normal level of bus and truck traffic due to the presence of the Oskaloosa School Bus Garage and other businesses along 13th Avenue East. Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting on March 10th, 2014 considered the resident request to restrict parking along South 4th Street from 13th to 15th Avenue East. At this meeting, they asked staff to research the possibility of converting this section of street to a one-way southbound traffic only. A survey was then conducted with the one-way street option listed along with the parking restriction options. Of the respondents, 2, that would be 20%, want to leave the on-street parking as is. 7, or 70%, want to prohibit parking on both sides at all times. And 1, 10%, wants to prohibit parking on the west side at all times. None of the respondents opted to convert the street to a one-way street. At their meeting on April 14, 2014, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended by a vote of 3-2 to approve southbound one-way traffic along South 4th Street from 13th Avenue East to 15th Avenue East, along with a parking restriction along the east side of the section of South 4th Street. And so we have a note here with the recommendations from P&Z and assorted other notes that I won't read through. So, do we have a motion regarding an ordinance to regulate the traffic on South 4th Street between 13th Avenue East and 15th Avenue East?
What is the motion? Sounds like there's 3 of them on the table.
You come up with your own.
Are we going to turn it into one-way, like plans only wanted, that none of the residents
Can we open a
wanted?
discussion first before we throw something out there?
Well,
All right, Joe.
well, no. I get to pick on that.
Make a motion.
Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion, recommend that there just be no parking.
Okay, no parking on both sides?
I'll second that.
Okay.
But that's a two-way street then.
It's a two-way street.
Two-way street, no parking.
Yeah,
So you want to leave it a two-way?
two-way, no parking,
Both sides.
both sides.
Okay, that's what we got on the table.
Okay.
I'd like to hear
Why?
why staff is recommending the one-way.
That wasn't the staff recommendation.
It wasn't
Planning and
staff.
zoning.
It was a
I'm
planning.
sorry, is there any legitimate reason to go one-way?
Well, the reasoning I got from my, basically my staff member Nate was in the meeting. The reasoning I got was basically they were concerned about the traffic that's coming southbound, and there's no room to turn in northbound from 15th Avenue when people are trying to make a left turn from 15th Avenue. By the time they approach the intersection there's hardly any room because of the bus traffic or heavier traffic that's approaching the intersection. And there's also parked cars on both sides, so they were trying to restrict the traffic, the heavier traffic entering into South 4th Street. They wanted the heavier traffic directed towards South 7th and then enter the 13th Avenue. So
Where and when is these cars parked there?
mostly during,
Houses there.
Well, there's
there's 2 houses on 15th Avenue. So there's only 2 houses on 15th Avenue East. So there's renters on both the houses, and they use that mostly during night times and early morning times.
The cars were the original problem, because I had a couple bus drivers come to me and talk to me about it 6 months ago, and I said, you need to go back through your school system and have say that there's a problem, because that was the original problem. But the one-way street idea, I was just trying to understand that.
I went out there one morning purposely, just as the buses are getting ready, well, a little bit later in the morning, probably around 7. I went up 15th, heading east, made a left. Was that 5th? 4th? 4th. Okay, made a left on 4th. Bus just happened to be coming down. Plenty of room for me to make that left turn. And as I was making the turn, this house right here, there was a car parked right there, a Jeep parked right there. I had to wait behind it, of course. I had patience enough to wait. And then once the bus went by, I went around. That's why I would recommend just do no parking, because the rest of the road is all businesses. It's all industrial.
Yeah.
And traffic didn't really start here until the bus barn moved in there,
Well,
my opinion.
And the bus drivers want no patience.
Yeah, sure.
In case you were wondering.
Right. So I think the street's wide enough.
This proposed.
2 buses can get by one another, no problem.
Okay.
If you're a good bus driver, yeah.
On both
So-
sides. Yeah,
Other comments?
I guess.
Is there anybody out there that wants to speak to this? I see you standing there shaking your head.
That's just Scott.
I just thought I'd ask.
For full disclosure, I guess my wife and I own one of the properties that was surveyed. I guess technically my wife owns it, if she lets me use it. But city attorney said I'm okay to.
Doug did consult me, and I indicated to him, no, I do not perceive a conflict with this addressing this issue on the facts we have here.
So Joe, you suggest.
And the only comment I would have is, we go to the residents and we survey them, of which we responded, but, all the responses came back, or the vast majority came back for the 2-way or restricted parking.
70%.
and not to do the one-way. Nobody came back and said, let's try the one-way. So I would be hesitant
7.
to try that. Now, one of the things that, the alternatives that the staff provided was potentially to do the one-way for truck and buses only. Is that not one of your alternatives? I thought I saw that.
You're shaking yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was number 2, prohibit truck and bus traffic on South 4th. So,
Oh, that's not a one-way, so
Oh,
it's prohibiting bus and traffic.
still be two-way, but they'd always have to go out to 13th or go
Right.
out to 7th.
Right, so it'll be prohibiting heavier traffic on South 4th Street. Yep.
So you're just making like a truck route?
Yeah, no truck route,
Okay.
basically.
That was my only comment, is why we would go away if there was vast majority of responses from the people impacted. But again, I feel a little bit, I don't feel like I need to push it one way or the other just because we own it. I'll vote my way, but that was my only comment, is doing something different than all the responses said.
Are you okay with it, or, I mean, since you got a property out there, what's the problem? Is the problem just bus traffic and there's people parked there? Is that really what the issue is?
Well, the 2 places they would park would be right there on the corner, because that's where the only residences are, and then you got trucks coming in to get back to the businesses, 18-wheelers, and you got buses coming in and out. So if there's a car parked on each side, that intersection right there at 4th and 15th can get probably congested. Again, the main reason I'm impacted, that's back where we have the baseball club, and there's just a lot of cars coming in and out of there, youth, parents, and we want to make sure we easy to get back in there and can utilize it the way we want to use. But
None of the maps show the restricted parking on both sides. But even though that's the popular choice at the moment, they show a little bit of.
Yeah, just from the corner down.
But if I understand it right, we're talking about restricting both sides all the time, right?
Just to the corner there, yeah.
Yeah, one goes up to the corner on the west side, and the other one looks like it's, what, 25 feet?
It's from here to here, right?
Or is it gonna look clear to
Both
there?
sides.
Clear to there is what we were asking.
Both sides, right, yeah. But I'm just pointing out, none of the maps show what
And is
we're
this Doug?
about ready to vote on.
They just show a proposal, right? The way it has to propose marking.
There were there were options presented.
Right.
Again, the option 2 is probably the most similar,
Yeah,
but it doesn't show restricting it all the way
That's my point.
down the road.
Thank you.
Right.
So we're clear what we're voting on.
And we're not voting to prohibit truck and bus traffic on that.
Nope,
south wall,
just
right?
parking.
Just parking.
Any other discussion?
If I may add, the 2 residents basically voiced their opinion that they need some form of a parking because they have renters there. So the homeowner on the northwest corner, her name is Pamela Tippett. She came to both the sessions on the P&Z meetings. She was concerned about the parking restriction on both sides. If there is parking restriction on both sides, she will not have any parking to put on any on-street parking. So basically, 15th Avenue is restricted on both sides. Even South 4th Street is restricted. If you're restricted on both sides, I think that'll be a concern for the property owners there.
But doesn't she have a driveway there?
Right.
Yeah.
But they have more. I think they have more cars. So
Maybe they need more driveway,
Yeah.
both those houses.
Widen the driveway.
sure, I was just expressing.
Sure.
So noted. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
And so I just wanted to make sure, the motion is no parking on both sides of the street and leave it a 2-way street.
Correct.
Yes.
And again, that's all the way on both sides. So on the west side, that's pretty self-explanatory. But
Right.
on the east side, you want to run it the entire length of that road as well.
What is shown there on Exhibit 2? How far is that small?
25?
That's 35 feet.
Oh.
About the length.
35?
35.
I would suggest to go up to that first driveway there.
Right, they have a small, they have a wider space there to allow parking. So 35 feet starts about the place where on-street parking can be allowed on the east side of South 4th Street.
That's what Exhibit A2 is.
Exhibit A2 is, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's what was that, Mike?
That's Exhibit A2.
Okay.
But again, that's
Is
not
it this
what the
one here?
motion reflects.
Yep, and what's up on the screen.
It's another famous seal-coated road with a lot of bus traffic.
Oh, yeah, the condition of the road is always a problem.
So that
Well, it's not just buses, but
The
there's
trucks.
quite a few trucks going in and out of there, and steel trucks. And
Any other comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Calgery,
Yes.
Jimenez,
yes.
Moore, Van
Yes.
Versteg, Walling,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item J is consider an ordinance amending the Oskaloosa Municipal Code to reflect a parking restriction along both sides of North 11th Street from C Avenue East to J Avenue East. When reviewing proposed parking changes along E Avenue East, the city staff became aware that a parking restriction along the west side of North 11th Street was not listed in the Oskaloosa Municipal Code. So currently, signs indicating a parking restriction are in place along both sides of North 11th Street from C Avenue East to J Avenue East. The city code states that parking is restricted along the east side only. This section of North 11th Street is 26 feet wide from back of curb to back of curb, which is too narrow to allow both two-way traffic and on-street parking. So therefore, staff is recommending council approve the ordinance to make a change to the Oskaloosa Municipal Code to reflect the existing parking restriction along both sides of North 11th Street from C Avenue East to J Avenue East. Do you have a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I just want to be sure, this road is too narrow, right?
Right.
We're only doing this because it needs to be clear, because, you know, they were all told they got that no parking because of how the road was financed. But that really isn't the real story then. It's because it's too narrow to park on one side of the road.
Well, I don't know what kind of funding what was applied then.
I'm not asking about the funding. As long as it's, if we can't let them park there because it's too narrow, this is a mute point. That's what I'm trying to.
Right, it
that's
is
true.
narrow, yep.
Thank you.
Usually the street width is about, the general street width that we go is 31 feet. This one is, I think, is 28 feet wide, so. So it is narrower than normal.
Lowest bid.
Do you think it's too narrow on both sides, with both sides of parking?
Healy says you cannot park.
Okay, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Calgery,
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Van
Yes.
Versteg,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Takes us to item K. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to revise the transportation alternate program application for new sidewalks. The city council at the meeting on February 19th of 2013 and March 18th of 2013 authorized staff to apply for 2 different sidewalk grants from the Iowa DOT. These 2 grant applications were recognized as Phase 1 and Phase 2 sidewalk improvements. We've got those on Exhibit 1. The city of Oskaloosa received an 80-20 matching funds only for Phase 2 sidewalk improvements. Staff believes that the sidewalks in Phase 1 have priority over some of the sidewalks in Phase 2 because they provide better connectivity to the Oskaloosa Elementary School, recreational trails, county fairgrounds, and the commercial corridor on Highway 92. The streets along Phase 1 also have higher pedestrian and traffic volume when compared to the streets along Phase 2. So the existing project locations for sidewalk improvements, which is approved in the federal fiscal year 2015 of the fundings, are as follows: from Pella Avenue to Green Street, Pella Avenue from Green Street to Santa Clara Street. That's a $92,000 project. Santa Clara Street from M Avenue to Pella Avenue, $72,000. D Avenue West from 1012 D Avenue West to Pella Avenue, and North 3rd Street from Middle School to the recreational trail, that's $28,000 project, total of $232,000. Staff is recommending to change the location for the sidewalk improvements to now Green Street from Pella Avenue to M Avenue, estimate $106,000. North L Street from D Avenue to Green Street, that's a $58,000 deal. D Avenue West from 1012 D Avenue West to Pella Avenue, $40,000. And North 3rd Street from the middle school to the recreational trail, $28,000. Total cost same, $232,000. So do we have a motion to make that change?
Move.
Okay, any discussion?
So you're filling in from D Avenue West to Green Street.
Looks like it. No, Pella.
Actually, yeah, north past Orchard to M, basically.
Okay.
And that's something we can change, how we're using the funds. It's not a requirement of the grant that we have to follow the math.
We actually have to apply for an amendment to the regional plan, and that's scheduled to occur later this week or next.
It's actually this week.
Yeah, this week. Okay. But we as you as an entity, have to get a resolution to show that you support that.
Okay.
So is Santa Clara ever going to get a sidewalk?
If there's funding allocated for it, yeah. I think it would be a good project. Obviously, that was phase 2, and we'd like to see it done as part of that study.
You're okay with that, Aaron?
Yeah, which side of Green Street are we talking?
We're talking on the Green Street, we're talking on the east side from Pella Avenue to Orchard, and then on the east side from Orchard to M Avenue. See, it's on Exhibit 2.
Fairground side.
Fairground.
Okay. Yeah. Fairground side.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Calgery?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. And we're out of items. Okay, reports from city staff, city manager, anything?
Mayor, Council, as I mentioned to you in an email last Friday, I'd like to request that we set up a study session to review the item, which is the allocation of $550,000 for road improvement projects. I'd like to suggest that we have a study session next Monday, if that would be okay with everybody. If not, please let me know, and then we can look at moving that out into May. But it would be at 5 o'clock. There's no council meeting, so we could go as long as you'd like to. But as we're getting closer to the end of the fiscal year, and I would really like to figure out what you'd like to do. If it's something that we need to start design work on, we need to figure out how we're going to get that done, either get a contract for it or
Are you going to bring us a list of projects prioritized?
We'll review the list of projects in the CIP. There was some discussion at the budget retreat about accelerating what's already in the CIP. We've had multiple conversations about the parking lots, one for Hy-Vee, the other one for the mall. There's been discussion about road improvements to
Third Avenue.
Lacey Complex, Third Avenue, you name it. There have been a number of needs and wants, so it's up to all of you to figure out where you'd like to spend those dollars so that we can get working on spending them.
And you'll have associated costs with that as well.
If we know about the project, sure. Yeah, if it's something that's in the CIP, we'll continue to show those project costs.
Anything else?
We've had a couple subcommittee meetings, obviously of council, but I'll leave that to the council members to report on. So that's it.
Okay. City clerk, anything?
No, sir.
City attorney, anything?
Nothing, thank you, sir.
Okay. Move on then to city council members. Let's start with Joe.
None.
Okay, Aaron?
No, thank
Dottie?
you.
Nothing,
Tom?
sir.
It's going pretty fast. Doug?
Nothing, sir.
Tom?
No, sir.
Okay. Gets down to the mayor's point. I did want to make one announcement. I received a letter from the Arbor Day Foundation dated April 2nd. Dear Mayor, on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation, I write to congratulate Oskaloosa on earning recognition as a 2013 Tree City USA designation. Residents of Oskaloosa ought to be proud to live in a community that makes the planting and care of trees a priority. Your community joins more than 3,400 Tree City USAs with a combined population of 140 million people. This program is sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. And so anyway, I had signed a proclamation over the noon hour today as well for the Arbor Day type of designation and working with Trees Forever for the forestation that we have here in Oskaloosa. I think from time to time we forget what a big deal trees are, and we think about the shade that they put on our houses, the way that they help our just the comfortability of the community we live in. And so we want to encourage that as much as possible, especially the folks who are good at it. So if you have a lot of ash trees, for example, 130 some, that Oskaloosa is blessed with in their right-of-ways, it's good to have experts on such thing. And I heard in the news today that there's some little bug out there that likes walnut trees now too. So we want these guys on our side, and so it makes me very proud that we got this designation again. So anyway, I don't have anything else to add. Does anyone have a motion for adjournment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.